This is the story of how my family used me like an ATM for 6 years until I finally put a stop to it. It all started when my sister borrowed $2,500. My dad took $800, and my family flew first class on my dime. I eventually booked a solo trip and cut them off for good. I sent them an invoice, froze their credit cards, and even got my dad fired by sending evidence to his HR department. The breaking point came when my mother casually mentioned that flights to Maui would cost $1,200 each, and if I couldn't afford it, I should stay behind. This was said over speakerphone while I was still in my scrubs, sweating after a 12-hour shift at the hospital. I had just finished back-to-back night shifts to cover my rent and college loans. My mother, father, sister Lyra, and her husband, Cassian, were planning a week-long family trip to Maui, business class included. My mother claimed they deserved it because it had been a rough year for everyone. It felt like I wasn't part of that everyone. Despite having loaned Lyra $2,500 when Cassian lost his job and covering my dad's medical deductible when his blood pressure spiked, I simply nodded and smiled, as if it didn't hurt, even though it was the 6th time in 2 years my family had implied I didn't belong unless I was paying for the privilege. I told her I'd stay behind and went back to cleaning up vomit from an intoxicated patient. Soon after, I received an alert on my phone. My credit card had been charged for 4 business class tickets, costing $1,200 each. My name wasn't on the card. When I checked the app, the passengers listed were Caleb B., Cassian B., and Sandra M. Mom, Dad, and my brother-in-law, but no me. They had used my credit card again without asking, assuming I would cover it like always. I didn't even get a window seat. I immediately disputed all the charges and locked the account. An hour later, while brushing my teeth, Lyra texted, "Why is nothing paid for? We're at check-in." I replied, "What you said." I did stay behind, but not in the way they expected. I planned my own getaways somewhere warmer and quieter, free from family, duties, and guilt. My dad then showed up at my apartment and knocked as if he owned the place, but I didn't open the door. This wasn't just about the tickets. Those were just the final straw. It had started when I was 22, and Lyra took my credit card to buy a $600 dress for her engagement celebration, promising to pay me back but never did. Then my dad asked me to co-sign a loan to rebuild their kitchen, claiming it was for resale value and that I'd inherit the house one day. Turns out, the house was refinanced again, with the money going to cover Cassian's second failed business venture. I was working 50-hour weeks, barely staying afloat, yet I was still the family ATM, the reliable one, the unmarried nurse with no kids who should contribute because family helps one another. But it was never mutual. When I got pneumonia and asked my mom for soup, she said she couldn't because she was watching Lyra's kids while she got her nails done. Cassian damaged my car while I lent it to him and my insurance doubled. He just shrugged it off, saying, "That's what insurance is for, right?" They slowly drained me until I was numb, like a frog being boiled. The real turning point, the actual fuse, came when Lyra texted me, asking if I could move my payday up because Mom wants to book hotels, and we're short. I wasn't even invited on this family trip. When I called my mom to ask about it, she said everything was already booked. They just needed a cushion to upgrade to business class because of Cassian's knees. I was stunned. I was being asked to pay for an upgrade on a trip I wasn't even taking. The tone shifted, and my mother told me that if I wanted to come, I should have said something, but flights were $1,200 each, and if I couldn't afford it, it was best I sit this one out. She said it as if I were a burden, an impediment to their luxury. I didn't argue. I just hung up, calm and numb. Then came the credit card notification for the 4 business class tickets. That's when the numbness ended. All my sacrifices, vacations, skipped dinners, multiple shifts were so they could have a good time while I rationed medication and ate instant ramen. I had $327 in checking and $14,200 in student loans. My car was 6 years old with 119,000 miles. I hadn't been on vacation since college. Meanwhile, Cassian was drinking first-class champagne with my name on the receipt, and Lyra had the nerve to text me from the check-in line asking why nothing was paid for. The mask fell. They weren't family. They were funders. I simply replied, "What you said." I stayed behind and did something I never thought I would. I created a travel website and booked my own trip. It wasn't special, but it was mine, free from commitments or guilt. My dad showed up at my door again, looking confused, enraged, and entitled. He knocked, but I didn't move. He knocked louder, saying, "Silas, open the door. We need to talk." I didn't. He stayed for 7 minutes, then left. That evening I got a voicemail from my mom saying I had really hurt my father and asking, "After everything we've done for you." I saved the message as evidence. Lyra called 5 times before texting, "Grow up. You can't punish the whole family over one misunderstanding." They had used, robbed, and mocked me, and now I was the person for saying no. But I wasn't angry. I was finished. They mistook my stillness for submission, thinking I'd give in, but I had changed. My dad returned with my mum, their faces etched with tired manipulation. I still didn't open the door. Lyra started texting that night. "You were being completely unfair. We needed that upgrade. Derek's knees swell when he flies economy. Do you realize what you've done? We couldn't even check in. Had to downgrade and pay out of pocket. Do you know how embarrassing that was? Family is supposed to be there for each other. That word, family. Again, I typed and retyped, then sent a single message. You mean like when I paid your rent for 8 months and you forgot to pay me back? No response. My mom called repeatedly, saying everything is neglected. Then a text from my dad. You need to grow up and stop playing victim. We had no choice. We didn't know the card would decline. You were supposed to help. You always do. That last line stuck with me. You were supposed to help. As if I were a family employee. I didn't respond. But I wasn't finished because they thought this was just a phase, a tantrum. This time, I was enraged, drained financially and physically, from years of being the silent donor. So, I did the unexpected. I wrote an invoice. It listed the $600 outfit for Lyra's engagement, the $2,500 loan to Lyra and Cassian, dad's $800 MRI deductible, $424 groceries mom forgot to Venmo back, $1,200 for the 4 unauthorized business class tickets to Hawaii, and $150 in interest and fees. The total outstanding balance was $7,870. I sent an email to the family group chat titled, Request for Reimbursement of Unlawful Payments and Prior Support. I stated that I would no longer be subsidizing family expenses as of July 1st, and full reimbursement was expected within 30 business days. Otherwise, I would file formal reports with my credit provider. I also stated no further financial interaction was permitted. The group chat exploded. Lyra asked, "Are you serious? What kind of person sends an invoice to their own family?" My mom called it hurtful and unnecessary. My dad said, "We raised you better than this." That line was the final spark because the truth was, they didn't raise me. I supported myself. I responded with the facts. You didn't raise me. I was overwhelmed by the imbalance in our relationship and I let you, but not anymore. I blocked Lyra but left my mom and dad unblocked out of curiosity. They appeared in person again. I opened the door. My mom, voice shaking, said, "You need to talk to us." I gently replied, "I really don't." My dad stepped forward, calling my actions spiteful. I snapped back, "We're your family and you used my name and card to buy flights. That's not family." That was a serious breach of trust. My mom sobbed, saying they didn't think it would be an issue. I cut in. "You always help because you trained me too. Since I was 22, you've treated me like a walking debit card. I helped because I was taught that saying no meant I was a bad son, but I'm done being a good son." My dad snapped, "Don't talk to your mother like that." I shot back, "Don't talk to me like I owe you something." I worked double shifts while Lyra and Cassian used my money to sit mimosas at LAX. I helped pay your hospital bills while you called me selfish behind my back. He asked if turning my back on family made me strong. I replied, "No, but it makes me free." I shut the door, not slammed, but forcefully, and finally, they didn't knock again. Later, my mom left a voicemail, a silent, defeated voice saying, "I don't know who you are anymore." For the first time, I smiled when I heard those words because I wasn't the person they used to walk all over. The silence that followed was surgical and final. No more knocking or guilt-laced voicemails. Then came the panic. My bank emailed me, saying someone tried to use my frozen credit card to rent a car in Maui. It was Cassian, and I called the fraud department, and they confirmed the attempted charge matched his information. They asked if I wanted to press charges. I didn't yet, but I had them capture everything and email me the report, titled Evidence in case things escalate. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. "We're stranded. Are you seriously going to leave your family like this after all we've done for you, Lyra?" I stared at it, wondering what they had done for me besides take. I didn't respond, instead screenshotting it and saving it in a new folder called Family. Patterns I won't repeat. Then something truly odd happened. Marissa Cashin's ex-wife sent me a message on Facebook. We hadn't spoken in years. She was a lawyer, smart and ambitious. Her message was simple. "Hey Silas, sorry for popping in like this, but you might want to talk." I asked if it was about Cassian, and she sent a thumbs up in a PDF. It contained screenshots, money transfers, and a paper trail. Cassian had been rerouting money from a shared family account that my mom and dad had given him access to for emergencies. He was gambling again, this time with cryptocurrency. The screenshots also included emails from my mom pleading with Marissa not to report anything, and one from my dad saying, "We'll fix this. Silas doesn't have to know." They knew. They all knew. They kept it from me because they were afraid I would cut them off. The airline tickets were just the surface. They had been draining me to hide Cashin's financial problems. I called Marissa immediately. She picked up and said she couldn't keep watching from the sidelines, knowing how they used to treat me. When I asked why she was sending this now, she paused and said, "Because you're finally doing what I should have done years ago, walking away, and I thought you deserved to know the truth." That night, I printed every sheet, transfer, and shady message, stapled them, and put them on my desk. For the first time in years, I slept with a window open, a breeze in my room, and no fear. The next morning, I got a voicemail from my dad, his voice low and strained. He said my mother was sick with stress, Lyra wasn't eating and wasn't doing well. He admitted mistakes but said I'd made my point and asked, "Can we please talk?" I scribbled one phrase and sent it back. "You're not entitled to grace that you never earned." I sent the invoice again, this time with files as an annex. I copied Aunt Linda and, for fun, sent a redacted copy anonymously to my dad's HR department. I then received an alert that my dad was no longer listed on the company website. I didn't celebrate, I was just separated. Meanwhile, my life blossomed. I started in-person therapy sessions, went on long walks every weekend, got a bike and tried new recipes. I started seeing a woman named Leah whom I met in the hospital cafeteria. She was quiet, interested, and had no idea who my family was. I told her everything about them and about the version of myself I was creating without them. One day Leah and I were discussing a hiking trail, and she pointed to one, grinning. "Want to go next weekend?" For the first time in years, I didn't. "We have to check my bank balance," I just replied, "Yes." I received one last handwritten letter from Lyra, 5 pages of trickery disguised as an apology. She wrote, "We all make mistakes. You took it too far. Mom cries every day you've turned your back on blood." Finally she wrote, "We're family, nothing changes that," and I realized she was correct. We are family, and that's what made it worse. Strangers didn't steal from me. The folks who knew me best did. I folded the letter, placed it on top of Marissa's file, and locked both in a drawer. The night before I had received a birthday card with no signature, only 3 words, "I see you." It was from Marissa, and I grinned because someone finally did. Months passed after I shut the door on my past and stopped apologizing for saying no. I looked in the mirror and saw a man who was whole and unbound, not a walking pocketbook. I used to believe closure meant they would come to me, apologizing, but closure was my responsibility. I accidentally ran into my mother at a quiet downtown cafe. She seemed smaller than I remembered, diminished by time. She smiled as if nothing had happened, as if we hadn't battled over silence and invoices. We sat down, and she rambled, offering no real apologies, only memory revisions. She said they were just trying to hold things together and didn't realize how much you were carrying. There was no mention of ownership. The fraud cash-in's attempts to use my credit, or Lyra's poison, was just an emotional dress rehearsal, and I was expected to play the forgiving son. But I was done with that role. Then came the inevitable, "Do you hate us now?" I didn't flinch. "No," I replied, "but I don't owe you anything anymore." She blinked and said, "But we're family." "That's not an argument," I said. "That's an excuse." She gave me an envelope, standing up and hoping I'd return to them. I quietly told her I already did to tell you I'm not coming back. After she left, I opened the envelope. It was a check for $7,870, with no note or apology, just a $sign. I didn't cash it immediately. I tacked it to the wall above my desk beside a quote that transformed my life. "You do not have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm." Lyra never responded directly again, but Marissa did. After sharing Derek's financial lies with me, she forwarded the same evidence packet to a family law attorney and the state fraud office. Cassian is now under investigation for wire fraud and theft of family funds because he didn't just use my card. He also took from my mom and dad's retirement account. When I asked Marissa why she helped, she replied, "Because you deserve backup, and I couldn't sleep knowing they'd keep bleeding you." She wasn't just Derek's ex anymore. She was a truth-teller with receipts. My dad discreetly lost his job after HR reportedly investigated an anonymous package. He tried calling me once more, leaving a voicemail saying, "You made your point. Silas, you've embarrassed all of us, but family is not a transaction. You'll regret this." I didn't respond because the truth is familiar, a transaction, and it had always been one-sided. Leah and I were solid. She was there when I told her everything, the good, the bad, and the bank records. She didn't flinch, simply grasped my hand and said, "I'm proud of you for not letting it turn you bitter." She's the first person in my life who has never required me to earn her affection through sacrifice. We plan to move in together this fall, to a new, bigger, brighter place. And no, I didn't ask anyone for money. I cashed the check and donated every dime to a scholarship foundation for young nurses who support their families financially while attending school. Because someone out there recognizes me from 5 years ago, breaking their back while their family pretends everything is okay. I want them to know it isn't, and that they are not alone. Where does this leave me? Stronger, quieter, wiser. Still a son, still a brother, but I'm no longer their lifeblood or carrying their weight. I have my own boundaries and my own tranquility. I remember the day I finally said, "I'm not your safety net. I'm my own person." They didn't understand, but I loved myself for it. I'm leaving behind shame, fear, and the idea that being the good one means dying for others. What I keep in my life isn't flawless, but it is mine, and I'm not sharing it with anyone who doesn't treat me like I'm important. I used to be the person they relied on. Now I stand tall on my own. And the door I closed that day, It's still closed, and the key is in my pocket to stay.